So back in October, at the 60th anniversary of James Bond, the estate of Ian Fleming did something quietly revolutionary. And they put out a press release, and I haven't really seen anyone talking about it. So I thought I would make a quick video, long overdue, and discuss how, the estate of Ian Fleming has very quietly revolutionized publishing. Stay tuned. Hi guys, it is me, and I'm making a very, very long overdue video. A video I should have made way back in October, but life got away with me, as it sometimes does. But this is important. This is important. I don't bring much to the Bond community, because there are always people who know more about suits and cars and guns and stuff, but I do know about books, and I do know about the publishing industry. And Ian Fleming's estate, the estate of Ian Fleming, Ian Fleming's family who still own the rights to all his books and stuff like that, quietly did something in October that is huge. That's like, let me tell you what it is. I don't know if you remember, back in October they had the 60th anniversary of the James Bond movies to mark 60 years since Dr. No had its premiere in London. And on that same day, Ian Fleming Publications, the estate of Ian Fleming, put out a blog post saying "Welcome Home 007," and they informed us of the actually mind-blowingly huge news that as of April 23rd, 2023, which is the 70th anniversary of the publication of Casino Royale, the estate of Ian Fleming would be publishing the James Bond books under their own publication title, their own publishing house, Ian Fleming Publications. So the estate of Ian Fleming is now publishing the books of Ian Fleming, or the James Bond one specifically, under their own imprint. And that's huge, because do you know what that means in layman's terms? It means the estate of Ian Fleming are now self-publishing the James Bond books. It's exactly what they mean. They have become their own independent publishing house to publish Ian Fleming's James Bond books, which is something that hasn't happened. The books have been around for 70 years, and in all of that time, they've always been traditionally published. I think it was Jonathan Cate published Casino Royale originally, and then that got swallowed up by one particular publishing house after another. And right now, I believe they are being published by an imprint called Vintage Classics, and that is owned by Penguin Random House. And yeah, the Ian Fleming books have been published in paperback by them, and every so often they redo the covers or whatever, and they've been available as Kindle ebooks through Vintage Classics. I think they call them Vintage Digital or something like that. And that's fairly typical for books that have been around for a long time. But the thing is, it's not a great deal for the estate of Ian Fleming, because traditional publishing doesn't really give authors a fantastic deal. It's why so many authors are now going into self-publishing. I mean, it used to be you self-published your books because you couldn't get a traditional publishing house to publish them. Now, there are lots of people who still do that, but there are also people who are like, I don't want to traditionally publish my books, I want to publish them myself. Why? Because I can control the whole process and make a ton more money. And that's what I do. I mean, I've wanted to be a writer since I was 9 years old, and I must have got 100 rejection slips from different publishers. But the joke's on them, because I started publishing my books myself and became pretty damn good at it. And I've now sold 68,000 copies of my books and made over $275,000 in royalties. I've blown away anything I could have ever made by being traditionally published, and I did it all myself. So, two traditional publishers, suck it. Anyway, the estate of Ian Fleming is getting the same raw deal. I mean, I don't know the exact deal that they have with Penguin, but traditionally, a traditional publisher will give an author 10% of the royalties for selling their book. And I mean, that's very old-fashioned. That's legacy. That goes back to when they were the only ones who could get the books in bookstores, which they can't do. And it kind of like cobbled itself together into an agreement for ebooks. But what you have to think is, for Penguin, you know, these ebooks just sit there. They don't have to edit them. They don't have to market them. They don't have to do anything to them. And they get 60% of the potential royalties that the estate of Ian Fleming could. Because if you go through a traditional publisher, the author gets 10% of the royalties. If you publish them yourself through Amazon in an ebook format, you get 70% of the royalties, which is a big difference. I mean, that's why self-published authors like me can be successful, because you can earn a full-time living from self-publishing books and still sell 7 times fewer books than you would have to be a traditionally published author and achieve that level of success. So yeah, it's a raw deal for traditionally published authors if their books are always going to be selling and their books market themselves. And that's the very definition of what the James Bond books are. So yeah, it looks like the estate of Ian Fleming has waited for some contract or something to go down and then have decided to self-publish the books themselves. And I think that is wonderful. I mean, it's not as big a deal in terms of the finances as you might think, because the James Bond books by Ian Fleming have been around for 70 years. They're not selling in buckets. In fact, I did a little bit of research myself using Publisher Rocket, which is a third-party tool produced by Dave at Kindlepreneur. It's very, very useful if you're a self-published author. And looking at the rankings of the ebooks and the paperbacks of Casino Royale as an example, I estimate at the moment Casino Royale generates about $14 a month in revenue. And that might sound bonkers. And yes, there is a possibility that I'm wrong, but according to the figures that I have access to and according to my understanding of the publishing industry, it looks like Casino Royale makes $14 a month in sales. So we're not talking big money here. But what happens when the estate of Ian Fleming takes over the rights to Ian Fleming's James Bond books is they then can do new and interesting stuff with them because they have that control that they never had before. They can, of course, get new covers, and at the moment they're teasing the new covers quite a lot. So it's going to be exciting to see what they look like. But they can also get all of the stuff that the estate of Ian Fleming has in terms of Ian Fleming's journals and letters and all of this really, really interesting stuff, and maybe package up the books in a new, interesting format that will get someone like me who owns, oh God, I mean, I've got probably a full set up here. I've got a full set downstairs. I've got dozens of James Bond books. Every time I see one, I buy one so I can give it to my friends. But yeah, for people like me to actually go and buy the James Bond books again, they would have to be new and interesting, exciting. But the estate of Ian Fleming has the opportunity to do that, to do interesting stuff with them. They are going to do a physical imprint as well, I believe, which is really interesting. I believe it's going to be, again, published through then Ian Fleming Publications. I don't even know how that works. That's kind of exciting. I don't believe that people are queuing up outside of Barnes & Noble to buy copies of Casino Royale. I don't think they shipped that many of them. But again, it's an opportunity to produce a brand new paperback or hardback or limited edition version of each of the books with new material in there, new insights and stuff that somebody like me would be excited to go and buy. And the wonderful thing is all of the stuff that they can do, which Penguin couldn't offer, all of the ways they can make Ian Fleming's books new and interesting and something that people like me would want to go and invest money in. They then get the lion's share of the royalties from that, which they deserve, because they are the people who can bring something new and fresh to these books that have existed for 70 years, and they should be rewarded for that. I'm really excited. I am really, really excited to see what the estate of Ian Fleming does with Ian Fleming's books. I'm right there, front and center, going to be tracking everything about it, and you better believe when the books get released again, I'm going to be checking them out, and hopefully they are as exciting and attractive a new purchase for a James Bond fan like me to invest in, because that would be great. And I think next year, with the 70th anniversary of the James Bond books, there's going to be a real resurgence of interest in James Bond's literary history and his literary background, and I think it's going to be really, really exciting. And I don't know, from that point on, there are all sorts of other books that exist in the James Bond canon that maybe people will start to re-examine in new ways. But those core books, Ian Fleming's core books, are going to get a rebirth. And I am there for it. So it's a big deal. And I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. But yeah, 007 James Bond is coming home. The estate of Ian Fleming are welcoming the prodigal son back to the estate, and let's see what they do with it. It's going to be really, really exciting. So let me know what you think. Drop me a comment down below. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. I think there's a bell there. I think if you click the bell, it does stuff. So definitely click bells. Yeah, and I will be back sometime soon to talk more book stuff and James Bond stuff and whatever stuff I talk about. And thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate it. Appreciate every single person who watches my videos. Cheers. I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got the link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.